So cool. Right, morning everyone. I'm reading to you from Matthew 5. So we finished in verse 12 last weekend, and we did the Beatitudes, and I'm now going to be continuing from verse 13 to verse 16, where Jesus is speaking about salt and light. One of my most favorite verses, and I've probably preached this about 100 times. So let's get stuck into it. Verse 13. Jesus is speaking, and he's addressing the same crowd that has gathered in front of him, the disciples mostly, probably a lot of other people listening, weighing up, do I want to be his disciple, don't I want to be his disciple, checking it out. And he says, you are the salt of the earth. But if the salt loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? It's no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled on by men. And then Jesus says, you are the light of the world. And a city on a hill, that's what you are. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on a stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before men, that they may see your good deeds and praise you? No. And praise your Father in heaven. That's it. Short and sweet, but filled with treasure, if I can put it that way. But before I get stuck into that, we have a group of a whole lot of youngsters here today, and I always want to make sure concerning salvation and the opportunity to hear it. So I've asked a volunteer to come and assist me. So CJ, see you here. Come stand here next to me. All right. So for Sia here to understand this piece, and even for many of you, there's two things I'm doing. I don't know Sia as well, so I want to evangelize now, okay? And at the same time, I'm teaching you how to do this lesson, okay? So that you can do it. You put it in your toolbox, it's in your toolbox. In my toolbox, I've got many different evangelical approaches, okay? So this is a nice one to have, okay? If you really want to grasp salt and light, this teaching today, we need to first make sure that people understand the gospel. All right. See you. I think about 12 down in okay. All right. So, have you ever heard of the 10 Commandments? The 10 Commandments. Okay. En jy is gesê jy moet hulle mos eerbied, né? En onderhou. Okay. All right. You've got to follow the 10 Commandments. See, the thing is that you'll never be able to do that. It's impossible. It's nice to strive towards. It's nice to try to do it, but it's impossible. I'm going to prove that to you. See, have you ever in your whole life told a lie? Okay. All right. So this is why it's important, because God is holy. What does holy mean? Separated or set apart. Okay. Now the Bible teaches us that we can't go to God. You see, when God made us in the beginning, God used to walk in the Garden of Eden with man. There was this awesome fellowship and union. And the moment sin came in, there was separation between God as holy, in other words, he despises sin, cannot be around it, and man that went from holy created, to sin. And you can have the smallest sin. You can't get to his holiness. You can't get to God. You can't get to heaven with the smallest of sin. And the Ten Commandments are not given to us to try to obey, because you will not get it right. As a matter of fact, the Ten Commandments are given to us like a mirror. Give it a spiel. A big mirror to pick it up so that you can see, I've got a problem. I need Jesus. I need redemption. I need a Savior. Okay? So the Ten Commandments are saying to you, see, okay, the Ten Commandments are trying to let you realize, or me, or him, or any person, you're just the guinea pig. Okay? Any person, realize that you are in dire need of a Savior, and his name is Jesus. Have you ever stolen something in your whole life? Your whole life. A cookie. A cookie. Stealing is stealing, man. So your mom said, don't take the cookie, you're like. Have you ever stolen something in your whole life? The smallest little thing. Okay. You're getting flashbacks. Okay. So by your own admittance, you're a lying thief. Wat hectic, hè? Het jy al ooit die Here se naam verkeerd gebruik? In jou hele lewe, daar by skool. Iemand het jou gesê jy gebruik die Here se naam. Okay, well done. Okay, hierdie ene gaan jou, hierdie is die moeilik. Het jy al ooit, as jy al ooit, kom ek sal dit so, het jy al ooit as jou ma, het jy al ooit jouself gewip vir jou ma, en weggeloop, man? So the Bible says, honor your mother and father, so you made a mistake there also, man. Okay, so we know so far you're a lying, thieving individual who has not honored you. Okay, so as I escape on spiel, man. So far, we're saying, okay, Sia has a problem because he wants to go to heaven. You want to go to heaven? I want to go to heaven. But we can't get there when we've got sin in our life. Once we can't get there. That's how holy God is. Het jy al ooit vir 'n girl gedink en gedink, Okay, so all right, so here we go. So by your own admittance, you're a lying, thieving, Jesus says, adulterer at heart, and you've brought dishonor onto your parents' home. Okay, so you've got a problem. That's what we're trying to get at. We're trying to get, okay. But now, watch this. That's the awesome. Jesus comes and Jesus says, I love you. And the punishment that you should get, because God will punish all sin, Jesus says, I'm going to take that on me. I don't want you to be punished. So I'm going to go, en as God daar is, en God met sy wraak teenoor sonde uitstort, kom Jesus in, en Jesus sê, ek vat dit op my. And that's the good news. See, the bad news is that there's separation. And we'll never understand and appreciate the good news if we don't know the bad news. The bad news is that we cannot get near to God with the smallest iota of sin. And Jesus says, I'm going to take his punishment. Now, for that to apply to you, for your sins to be covered, and washed away, and absolved, all you need to do, read the Bible, pray, most important, because when you believe in Jesus Christ, and you say, I give my heart to Jesus Christ, automatically within you, something starts to happen, and you start to become hungry for God. You start to ask people about it, try to figure out, how do I read this? How do I get stuck into this? You see the Spirit of God now, and He's calling out. What is that? He's calling out to you. And that's what's happening. Who's going? Thank you. So well done. So now, having known that, having understood what the gospel is, many people hear the gospel. That was a very short version of it. I could spend days explaining the gospel. But people hear that, and then they make a decision I am going to commit my life to Jesus. I'm going to dedicate my life to Jesus. I'm going to follow him. I'm going to serve him. I'm going to worship him. I'm going to study his word. I'm going to try my best to live according to that word. And I'm going to share what I have with others. That's what today's about. Sharing what you have with others. The kind of Christians who actually live the Beatitudes, which we studied last week, remember them? The type of person that lives the Beatitudes are like salt and light to the world. They will have an influence in the world. If you live this way, Jesus says you are. He didn't say you will become. When you've committed your life to Christ, Jesus says you are. You are salt. You are light. And Jesus wants his listeners to understand why they are to interact with the world. In other words, don't make your faith private. I've met so many people. My geloof is 'n private saak. Dit is in ek en die Here. My faith, my walk with it's got nothing to do with it. It's a private affair. And it's not that. Guys, it wasn't a private affair when Jesus was walking through the city carrying his cross. That was no private affair. When he was crucified, that was no private affair. It was a public display of love. Bridging, building reconciliation between fallen man and a holy God, fixing that. So when we say we are Christians, it's no private affair. Yes, some of us are more reserved. Some of us are blessed that we can speak or vocalize things differently. Some of us are more bold or more daring. But we all have the mandate to actually be influencers in society. It has to do with the word influence. This piece today, Salt and Light, has to do with influence. Just remember that word, influence. The main point is this. Jesus' disciples will prevent moral decay within society. The world is rotting like frog meat. It's like decaying meat, decaying fish. And we slow that process down. We are engaged in the fight as Christians. And we're not just sitting on the sidelines. That's what Jesus is saying here. Let's sit on the sideline. My coach always used to say to us, if I'm running on the field and I'm not having a good soccer game, he'll say, hey, Andre, and I'm on the field. He'll say, hey, Andre, you're watching a good game, I see. And I'm on the field. You know, me and my dogs, and I'm like, and I realize, ooh, I'm on the field, but I ain't effective. There ain't 11 on the team, there's 10, because I ain't doing my job. Jesus is saying, influence, engage, be involved. If we, the church, don't teach about sin, don't teach about immorality, who's going to do it? It's our job. Genuine Christians will have a good, will have a positive, will have a long-lasting influence on people around you. And that can be, guys, you're not going to be at April J forever. It's going to be where you work. It's going to be within your families. It's going to be your friendship circle. You're going to bring that influence into that crowd. Our relationship with God should have an obvious, listen, that's important, that word, an obvious impact on everyone who comes in contact with us. Jesus isn't just calling us to be devoted only. Yes, we must be devoted to him. Yes, we need to search his word. We need to do the effort to understand the Bible. I'm not a clever person, okay? And I can understand the Bible. My first Bible wasn't the King James. I still don't read the King James because I don't understand it. I read the New Living Translation and the Good News Bible. God has met me where I'm weak, man. And there he ministers to me. But he's encouraging us to have an influence everywhere we go. Now, I'll tell you a short story. Probably someone who I have met and who has mentored me, who has been such an influence within the lives of other people has been my friend Royce. Some of you have heard him speak over here before. Some of you don't know him. He was very far from the Lord, did not serve Jesus, was a drunk, was a man who was quite high up in the army, and also not high up, but very devoted in the army. He was part of the police group called the Kufut, and in the old apartheid years, he had killed many people. It's part of his testimony. He speaks about it openly. And what happened was he came to faith. The Lord Jesus stepped into his life. Royce repented, committed his life to the Lord. I can remember gathering with a whole bunch of war veterans at a place called Hoffy Park in Kimberley. And we were going to drive up to the Kalahari Desert, the Kalahari Game Reserve. And the one police minister, Minister Adrian Flock, he was going to be there. This guy was in charge of sending these young men into war, was sending these police groups into places and killing people. Now, not only did Royce come to faith, but so did this minister, Adrian Flock. And he's the guy that went and washed the feet of a man by the name of Frank Shakan. He went down as a white man and washed this black man's feet and said, I am sorry for what I have done. It was a public display of his newfound Christian faith. And there's Adrian Flock, and there's Royce, similar situation. And we have invited all these people on TV, national television, to come and join us so that we can go sort out the war trauma and the things you've done. Let's go sort it out. And I remember him saying, you can bring your bottle of brandy with, you can bring your cigarettes with. All I'm asking for is that you will listen. Because he's going to drink at home in any case. He's going to be getting drunk at home every night in any case. He's already beating his wife. He's like, come as you are. But just be prepared that if the Lord moves, that he will move. And we were standing over there and everyone's gathering. 4x4s, GP number plates. And it's like, these people are coming. And they're off. They're already warm. Okay? All right? And at this place, Hoffy Park, there's a pub. Okay? Bad choice to start the outreach. Okay? We're all going to drive up here. I've been asked to lead the worship. Here comes this guy out of the pub, holding his glass. He's like, what's going on here? All these cars and all these people, it looks lekker. And I see Royce go up to him because now I think Royce is thinking, that's a guy with booze. He's like, hey, how you doing? You want to go with? He's like, yeah. He's like, on the bus. Yeah, he comes on the bus. Leaves his car, got his booze. When we got to Griquastad, that's about 2 hours, an hour and a half from here. He snuck into the bottle store and bought him another bottle. And he just carried on. And Royce is like, no, awesome. Leave him. It's okay. And here we go up. I saw that man kneel in the desert and commit his life. But you see, Royce didn't shun him. He didn't shun him. He said, come. I've been on the bus going down to Cape Town to meet a guy by the name of Billy Saunderson. He was burnt. He was welding an old 50-gallon drum, and there was still stuff inside of it, and it exploded, and he burned. All right? And he shouted out while he was burning as a heathen, Jesus saved me. Jesus saved him. He's a preacher today. All right? I was on my way down to meet him. On the way down, we stopped at a petrol station. There's a homeless guy. He loads him up on the bus. And that guy was with us on the whole outreach. We don't know him from a bar of soap, and he stinks. He's with us on the bus for outreach. 2 weeks in jail. That's influence. That's influence. That's engaging. And that was the challenge that was set before me. I was like, how do I top this? How do I top this? Then I met Jason. And I was like, yeah, I topped it. Jason, I love you. The same guy. I'll tell you another story. Today's a light one. I'll tell you another story. We're in a place called Groot Drink. That's where his mission station is like this. A whole bunch of youngsters like you as well. And Royce would always tell me about the story of there was this one girl who was drunk at night in the police van, and there were this group was running away, and he somehow went and he took his gun out and he shot her in the bum. And he always used to say to me, I wish I meet that girl one day. I pray I meet that girl one day that I can say sorry. And I heard this. Remember, I've been traveling with him for a year. So when he's sharing his testimony and he talks about the time in the hospital where he ripped one of the guy's drips out. That guy died in the hospital, that he couldn't testify against Royce. One of the other stories was this girl, this young girl, teenage girl that he shot in the bus as she was running away. You know, the cop cars would come in and people would just scatter, almost like what's happening now in the lockdown. And the one day we're driving through Grootdrink, and I'm sitting at the back of the bus. Royce is driving. We just dropped off the builders, and we drive past the soccer field. Looks like ours. It's just it's the real size. But it's like that, sand. Nothing grows in Grootdrink except the stone. And yes, this girl running across the soccer field, like waving us down. I said, Royce, someone's running across the field. She's waving at us. And he stopped. And she says, is jy Roy Major? Are you Red Major? That was his nickname in that department group. And he says, you know, that not anymore. That's not, don't refer to me as that. That's my old life. And Royce doesn't hold back. He's like, I've committed my life to Jesus. I'm a born again Christian. Don't call me that. He says, onthou jy, do you remember? So and so and so day, he says, we were running away and you shot me. And you shot me in the butt. And she lifted up her dress. And she showed him. He starts crying. He starts crying. She starts crying. He says, where do you live? He says, just on the other side of the soccer field. And he says, come. And he goes, he wants to apologize to your mother. He walks in the house and she says, Royce, ons het gehoor, we have heard that you have changed your life. We've been praying for you for many years. No need to ask for people. Guys, such a godly moment. I've experienced it. And that's one of many amazing, phenomenal stories. But you'll never have those stories if you don't engage. You'll never have those stories if you don't embrace the fact that Christ wants you to influence, wants you to make an impact in this world. What a boring life you must have if you deny the CEO of all CEOs. Some people aspire to work for Google. Some people aspire to work for Apple. It means nothing compared to when God says, I call you. I want you to engage. Right, salt of the earth. Salt in the ancient world was actually a very valuable commodity. As a matter of fact, Roman soldiers would have been paid with bags of salt. Remember that the next time you put salt on you. This was a very valuable item and commodity very, very long ago. And I've taught you on salt. You know, salt heals. It's a healing agent. So there are spiritually sick people out there. We as the salt, Jesus is saying, you're going to bring healing to them. All right? They're spiritually sick and dying. You're the salt of the earth. Be that healing agent. Not you. It's the message you bring that's the healing agent. We have said that salt brings out flavor. Yeah. So in other words, there are people, there are human beings who are tasteless. Their lives are mundane and empty. For a lack of a better word, I will say pathetic. And the moment the gospel reaches them, you are flavored. Things change. And salt brings out. Salt doesn't give flavor. It enhances flavor. So it's like the gospel brings out what God intended you to be. Most significantly, though, is that salt preserves. And that, when Jesus is talking to this audience, guys, they don't know what a fridge is. There was no such fridge. Check all those Jews. Huh? So in that time, the way you preserved meat was to salt it. Like biltong. Biltong can last very, very long because you salted it. So now they're getting it. Okay? Salt is a preservative. It's a preserving agent. Now, when you come to someone who is dead in their sin, That means rotting. What does meat do that's not preserved? It rots, it decays. Now watch this. The Bible says in John 3 verse 18, it says, whoever does not believe is already condemned. You're rotting, you're dying, you're decaying. You are meat that will rot. Romans 3:23 says that everyone falls short of the glory of God. God is glorious, God is holy, and you with your sin, you fall short of Him. Meaning you can't get there. And then Paul says in Romans 6:23, the wage of sin, in other words, the payment for your sin, see here, is death. In other words, death. You're rotting. And then Jesus says, you're the salt of the earth, meaning you are the preservative. You are going to be the message you bring, the gospel, the good news is going to be the agent that preserves you unto eternity. In other words, until you hear and accept the gospel, you're dead. You're dead in this. It is when you accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior that preserving agent kicks in. Jesus says to us, go guys, go flavor the world. Go be that healing agent, be the salt. But if salt loses its flavor, it says it's worthless. My sister lives in a place called Swakopmund in Namibia. And many of the roads in Namibia, I've told you this before, are made of salt. And the Bible says it's good to be trampled on. That's all you see. There's people walking on those roads, cars driving on it. It's worthless. And when it rains, it becomes this snotty gel. It's just ew. Think also of Lot's wife. The story of Lot and Sodom and Gomorrah. They're leaving Sodom and the angels have been good. And it led them out. As a matter of fact, the angels grabbed them by the hands and dragged them out of Sodom. So much mercy from God. God says, don't look back. The angels say, then don't look back. And Lot's wife looks back because she didn't want to leave the old life behind. The Bible says that no one can serve two masters. You can't serve the world, guys. You can't be in the world and be in Christ. It's either or. It's either or. I know who I used to be. I ain't that person anymore. It's not that's not me anymore. You can't serve both. Lot's wife looks back. There's an indecisiveness. And she becomes a pillar of salt. That's the story we all know. Now watch this. Where do you think that salt is today? It's useless. It's nothing. The pillar of salt, crumbling off. It means nothing. But it also points towards what she could have been. What she could have been. How pathetic. When you're an old man or an old woman and you're lying in your bed, you look back and you're like, what could I do? What could I do? What opportunities he gave? And I didn't take. Some additional points on salt. Note that salt, to be effective, must actually come in contact with the meat or the fish. See? Salt just there means nothing. It has to engage. It has to come in contact with the meat. To be effective, we must be involved where we work, where we live. Right now, this is where you are. This is the season where you are. Not everyone here is born again. So for now, this is where you are the salt. This is where you are. Let's look at the light of the world. What's that about? Well, Jesus says you're the light of the world. See, guys, when the sun shines, I was up early this morning, and I was looking over the veld, and it's just amazing. And I walked outside, and I could just, you can feel the sun, eh? I saw you guys sitting here like dancers in the sun. You feel it. Jesus is saying you're the light of the world. When that sun shines, it allows you to see. It takes what is dark, and you can see. It gives warmth. It it reaches, it impacts you, touches you. The job description of a Christian is not only to maintain personal holiness, your own striving and walking with God, but it's also to touch the lives of everyone around you, like the sunlight does, like it's falling there on you. But because most of us have never lived without electric light, we don't get this like they would get it back there when Jesus is talking. We miss Jesus' point. Because when we walk into a room, we just flip the switch. Né? Back then, it wasn't like that. You would light a little lamp. And if a city had lit those lamps, how many of you see the lights in Ritchie at night? You see it, it's far, eh? You don't miss it. You don't miss light. You see what Jesus is saying? He says, hey, when I ignite you, when I set you alight, I ain't going to hide you away, man. Why do you want to hide yourself away? Why do you want to take what I've blessed you with, the gospel, the knowledge of the good news, your gifting, your talents, your blessings? Why do you want to take that and you go put it under the table? Why? It's stupid. That's his whole redenation. Argument. That's his whole argument. It's silly. You see, the people sitting there are listening and they're going to be like, it's silly. You wouldn't do that. You're not going to light a lamp and put it under a pot or under a table. No, Jesus, that's silly. Who would do that? Well, we do that. We do that. We do that. I know some of you guys who are so blessed intellectually, but you don't use it. You don't use it. You're not living up to your potential. I know some of you who are well versed. You can talk. You can explain. You have the capability. But you're hiding your life. It's like you're putting it under the table. I don't know why I was looking at you, Jason. Probably one of the guys with the most gifting and talent that I've ever seen at this school. You. Cheers, Jason. And you. Jesus wants you to lighten up the world. You know, he lit you. He blessed you. And he did that for him. So that you can shine for him. You know that we hide our lights. Do you know how we hide our lights? You want to know? We hide our lights when we are quiet, when we should have spoken. Like on abortion, for example. No, we don't talk about that. We don't voice our opinions. We hide our light. We dim our light when we are quiet, when we should have spoken. We hide our light when we go along with the crowd. Well, everyone listens to Gaga. Everyone listens to Slipknot. So that's, you dim your light. We don't go along with the crowd. Okay? We dim our lights when we deny the light. In other words, when we reject Jesus. So what I've just done with Syria, I've done that with you guys. And I mean, you guys are sitting here under the teaching of the gospel every day. And then when you leave here and you're like, it's not for me. You idiot. It's not for me. Well, you're putting it out. That light wasn't even, you're just kidding. We hide our lights, we dim our lights when we allow sin to dim it for us. You know what? Man, I'll go through this. When you sin, when you err, when you make a mistake, you feel ashamed. You feel guilty. You don't want to talk to Jesus. It's not because you're angry with Jesus. It's because you're angry with yourself. Sin dims your light. When you have made a mistake, and you will sin, we repent. We clear the air. We freshen the room through our repentance. Okay? Another 2 ways that you dim the light in your life is when you refuse to explain your life. You've been so blessed, but you refuse to explain to people where it actually comes from. You know it's God, you know it's Christ. But you don't want to talk about it because it's private. What would they think? What would they think about me that I'm a Christian? It's not cool to be a Christian. It's not hip to be a Christian. And finally, we We dim our lights when we ignore the needs of others. How boring to live a life where you can satisfy the needs of people. You don't do it. The most happiest moments in my life is outreach. I'm not talking about my family or the birth of my children, or seeing Nathan look at me and Henriette on the operating table, and yes, Nathan, and he looks me in the eyes and he's like, Daddy. But when I'm at my happiest is when I'm on outreach. When you're feeding the Batwa people in the mountains of Uganda, and you see the joy in their faces. When we put that laptop, and we open up the laptop, and people who've never seen a TV in their lives are now watching the Jesus film, and they're crying. Oh, man. Why wouldn't you want to have those? We dim our lights when we ignore the needs of others. Right, conclusion. Our relationship with God should have an obvious impact on everyone who comes in contact with us. And I want to leave you with an illustration of two people. I want you to listen carefully. I told you the story, but I thought I'd give you the more detailed story today. I'll read it. I want to compare someone who let the light shine bright with someone who was not interested in the light, who rejected the light. One man who was the salt and light, and another that was not interested. As a matter of fact, one day when his wife at that time wanted to take the children to church, he said, my children go to church over my dead body. He rejected Christ and the gospel. An American teacher, A.E. Winship, decided to trace the descendants of the American preacher by the name of Jonathan Edwards. And this was almost 150 years after Edwards' death. His findings are remarkable, especially when compared to another man from the same time period known as Max Jukes. Jonathan Edwards was a Puritan preacher in the 1700s. He was one of the most respected preachers of his day. They called him the Prince of Preachers in America. He attended Yale at the age of 13 and later went on to become the president of the Princeton College. He married his wife Sarah in 1727, and they were blessed with 11 children. Baby. Okay, listen carefully. Every night when Mr. Edwards went home, he would spend an hour conversing, talking with his family, and then praying a blessing over each child. Jonathan and his wife Sarah passed on a great godly legacy to their 11 children. Max Jukes, his legacy came to people's attention when the family trees of 42 different men in New York prison system were traced back to him. So they were studying and they saw these 42 people, we can trace, who were in prison, we can trace them all back to Max Jukes. About 1,200 descendants were in both their families. The Jukes family originally was studied by sociologist Richard L. Dugdale in 1877. Now listen, their descendants, here it comes. Jonathan Edwards' legacy includes one U.S. vice president, one dean of law school, one dean of a medical school, 3 U.S. senators, 3 governors, 3 mayors, 13 college presidents, 30 judges, 60 doctors, 65 professors, 75 military officers, 80 public office holders, 100 lawyers, 100 pastors, including sent-out missionaries, and 285 college graduates. That's Jonathan Edwards. Max Jukes. His descendants include 70 murderers, 60 prosecuted thieves, 190 prostitutes, 150 other convicts, 310 paupers. A pauper is someone who dies with nothing and no one. Do you know what a pauper's burial is? A pauper's burial is when a TLB, or those days a whole lot of strong men, will dig a huge hole in the ground. And people are put into poor, hardened cardboard boxes. Cheap, hardened cardboard boxes, stacked on top of one another. We don't know who they are, unclaimed, no family, no funeral. That's a pauper's funeral. 310 paupers, 440 who were physically wrecked by addiction to alcohol. Of the 1,200 descendants that were studied, 300 died prematurely, just living rough lives. How's where you want to be? I've said to you so many times, Abraham came out of a heathen family. His mom, dad, people before him were not Christians, were not followers of Yahweh God. Well, they couldn't have been Christians, Christ wasn't born here, but not followers of the one true God of the Bible. And Abraham, when he had an encounter with Christ, with God, he said, I will follow you. And from Abraham, from the spawn of his loins, came a people who would follow and serve God. In other words, it's like you saying, I don't care where I come from. I don't care what my parents did. As for me, my house, we will serve the Lord. And from me will come a people who do love Jesus, who do study his word. I am the change. One of the presidents, I don't know who it was, he had a sign on his desk, a seat on the Oval Office desk. I don't know if it's still there, but it said, the buck stops here. In other words, whenever there were difficult decisions to be made in America within the Senate, no one would make the decision. And this president said, when it comes here, the buck stops here. I sort out the problem here. And that's what a lot of us just need to do, is to say, the buck stops here. As for me and my family, we will serve the Lord. We will be the salt and the light in this earth. Amen? Amen. Come, let's pray. Father, thank you so much for the path that you've already been walking with all these students in front of us. It's an amazing thought to think of who they were when they arrived here and to see where they already are in just 4 months. What still lies ahead and how glorious it will be. Father, I pray that you will awaken within us who acknowledge to be your disciples, who acknowledge to be followers of Christ, that you will awaken within us a boldness to engage, a boldness to influence those around us. Not that you may get the glory, but that you may get the glory. Father, we love you, we praise you, and we thank you that undeserving your Son Jesus died for us. We pray that you will be with us today. We will have a good day, that we will be ever mindful of what Jesus did in the cross. Jesus. Amen. Have a nice day. Soccer is at 4 o'clock. Don't be late. Now listen carefully. Very important. All the first years, every single one of you,